Greetings. My name is Craig Clayton, and I'm the director and founder of the Equitable Workplace Institute. For almost 20 years, I also was director of the University of Houston's International Institute for Diversity and Cross-Cultural Management. I've also been an international consultant and trainer over that time period, having worked with hundreds of companies, conducted workshops for thousands of employees, and been fortunate enough to put a dozen plus countries under my belt doing this work. I recently have gotten several requests from organizations whose budgets have gotten tight, specifically for the topic of diversity training. Several others have reached out asking, what is it that we do after our initial sheep dip into diversity training? But many of them had done training through the lens more from a compliance perspective and legalism than it was about driving the organization, improving the workplace culture, and creating opportunities for employees to feel valued and respected in the workplace. Well, I have a training program that I've developed over the years that I've recently started doing more train the trainer sessions and transferring that knowledge and intellectual property to organizations whose budgets just can't afford sending trainers all around the country from a consulting organization, bearing their travel costs and paying what in some cases can be 5, 6, 7,000 US per day for the workshop. The content is provided in a way that the focus of it is not becoming diverse. That's a subset of the conversation because there's still aspects of the workforce that as you tier up the organization are less and less diverse still today. Now in the US, there's a clustering at the entry level of women and immigrants, of people of color, because the dynamics of the workforce is changing. But the real purpose for the training sessions that I've developed, which I'm willing to share the information about, is how do you create equitable workplaces? Because at the end of the day, all of those aspects of difference are entitled to be respected. And I ask this question in every workshop I ever conduct, which is, by show of hands, how many people here are suffering from too much respected work? I've yet to see a hand go up. And when you anchor this conversation in the topic of respect, everyone wants to be respected. But here's the diversity connection of that conversation as well. At the end of the day, it's the ways we differ, the aspects of difference, that often cause the disrespect. So the perspective doesn't now take off the table the importance of having tough conversations. It just takes it through a different filter to ensure that everyone is leaned in and owns this organizational change. And there is a specific connection as well for those executives and leaders to why this is important as it relates to our organizational purpose. And unfortunately, the 20-pound gorilla in the room is always about how does this connect to ROI and the business of the business. Well, we've done a longitudinal study connected with the University of Houston that has been measuring the impact of derailing behaviors in the workplace and how that connects from a fiscal, quantifiable, monetary perspective to the top line, revenue growth, the bottom line, cost reductions, and the pipeline, recruiting, retention, and talent management. I've even developed a model, which I'm also willing to share, that's called the diversity profit equation, so that you can actually show those leaders and executives the impact of your efforts. And in some cases, we've done the quantification for organizations and been able to validate upwards of $500 million in bottom line impact. And when you gross that up based on the profit margin of an organization, that can sometimes be the equivalent of billions of dollars in revenue. Tell me that doesn't get the attention in the C-suite. I'm absolutely willing to share the information. I will discuss with you the ways in which we actually do the train the trainers and transfer the technology. If you like, I can also share with you some organizations who we've done this work with, who would be happy to tell you the ways in which they've been able to move the needle from a quantitative perspective with the surveys and metrics that they have in place. Lastly, in that area, we've also developed a tool called the Organizational Effectiveness Index, that this survey tool will help you to establish a baseline, quantify the fiscal impact, and develop ways from a professional development standpoint to make sure that what you're putting in place for training, beyond just the equitable workplace training, addresses the skills necessary for those that desire to both lead and to grow in this area to eliminate cognitive bias or unconscious bias, as it's often referred to, and improve their skill set. After all, my grandfather used to say that if a person only has a hammer, then everything tends to look like a nail. If you want people to help change the culture, you got to give them the right tools. Looking forward to hearing back from you. My email address is on the screen. Thanks again. Make it a great day.